Drafting worldwide, wide. Welcome back to the Revit Garage project. In this video we're going to go through how to do a building section. So whenever I look at my floor plan, this symbol right here is a building section, and basically it has a flag on the end kind of showing where it stops cutting through, and this line indicates where it's actually cutting through the building. So it would literally cut through this entire part of the building, and then this flag basically shows which direction that it's cutting. So it's cutting through this and looking that direction. So if I wanted to, I could put this, have it flip so it's looking that direction. And if I wanted to, I could also have it just cut through part of the wall. So in Revit, what there is in the background here is this window, and this is kind of the window of where it's actually cutting. Even though the flag's up here, it's actually still cutting through that entire section. So whenever I click on this, it's still cutting through that whole section. So this is a building section, and it's basically a section that cuts through the entire building, whether it's longitudinally or transverse. So if I click on this and I drag this window up here, now this section is only cutting through this one wall. So whenever I double click on that, you can see that it's going to be a typical wall section rather than a building section. So if we don't have any section symbol in here at all, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this, I can very easily come in here and under the Architecture tab up here at the main heading, I can find this section symbol, and you could also find that on the View tab right there. And I can basically just go through and cut a section. So a lot of times, and that one's crooked, you can see, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that and put another one in. A lot of times what we'd want to do is cut a section through a window or a door to basically show how that is going to work. So I'm going to cut a section right here, and I'll double click on that, and you can see how it shows the roof and it shows the window in there. So I'm not really crazy about showing the roof from that perspective. I'd rather show it from the other perspective. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to delete that one again, and I'm going to make my section right here. So if you want a more advanced section, you can cut it through a window or a door to show those extra details. If you want to go with just a standard typical wall section, the minimum requirements is for you to just cut through the wall. And I'm going to pick down here, start there, and I'm just going to kind of bump this way a little bit, drag this flag out there, and I'll do that. Stretch this up a little bit, and there is my wall section. So just as these were populated, actually the numbers put in there after they were placed on a sheet, so would this be. So for this one, even though we're going to kind of switch gears for a second, this is going to be a building section that cuts through multiple things. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag this the whole way down here so that it's a building section, not a typical wall section. Got confusing there for a second. And I'll stretch that, and I'll bring this down here a little bit so it's not over top of your dimension lines. And then I'm going to take a look at this by double clicking it, and that's a pretty good representation of a building section. So what it does, it shows you all the different structural components here Also shows you a little picture of what the overhead door looks like there. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I see I'm cutting the edge off this, so I'm going to just click on that and stretch it out a little bit. The next thing is I'm going to kind of look at my scale and see how big I want this to be. So right now it's at 3/16. If I took it down to an 1/8, this is how it would look. And what I'm thinking is I'm not going to show a whole lot of detail on this drawing because I'm going to do a typical wall section as well. So I'm going to leave this at an 1/8, and I can possibly fit this on another sheet that doesn't have a lot on it. So I'll just kind of adjust these things in where they need to be. These probably need pulled out just a little bit, and I'm going to turn this crop region off so I see that. I'm going to click on this, grab that little symbol here, and it wants to grab the 4 instead, and I'm going to stretch these up like this. And now this is a pretty cleaned up view. So the only thing that I am going to do is I'm going to try drawing some things in here with detail lines, and I'm going to go back to my annotate tab. I'm going to click detail lines. I'm going to leave this at medium lines, and I'm just going to come in here and try drawing these lines on that will represent where the truss sits on top of the wall. It looks like it's a pretty similar line. Let's try a heavy line instead. Wide line. Go with that, and I'll copy this one up. I'm going to copy that line up 3.5 inches. And then just bring this in to intersect there, and bring that in to intersect here. And that's basically showing part of a truss. If I wanted to, I could come in here and try to show, just make up some lines that represent a truss, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to leave it like that, and I will call this out as a truss. So the one thing that I want to do, this is a great place to actually show the overall height of the building. So my first floor level is going to also be my ground level, basically. So I can come in here, I don't know what these things are. I can come in here and throw in a dimension, annotate this, and I'm going to show a dimension from there to the peak of my roof. And I don't really like how it says this 29/32, so I could always come in here, double click on that dimension, and I could just make that 6 inches. So what wants to happen is, and I just do that by clicking on this, putting that there, and saying 6 inches. Okay, close it, apply, specify descriptive text for a dimension. So this is, let's throw overall building height. See how that looks. To change the dimension value for a length or angle of a segment, select the element the dimension refers to and click the value to edit it. Alright. Alright, that was a little bit confusing here. So basically what I had to do is check this box for replace with text. In here I put the overall height as a description of what the dimension is, and then I put the text, the 20 foot 6 inches there. So that shows that as the overall height. These things are cleaned up. I have the truss in here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a dimension for my ceiling height. So I'm just going to dimension from the top of the floor to the bottom of the ceiling. In this case it's 8 foot 8.5. Really no better place to do that than right there. And I'm going to also throw in a slope thing here, even though it's on my elevations. I'm going to add my slope there and slope there, and I'm going to click on those and I'm going to change them from arrows to triangles. So for the purposes of this drawing, I can scrunch this in. For the purpose of this drawing, I can really leave this building section right there. The only thing I wanted to show you is if I had a floor up here and I had a set of stairs going up here, that would be an alternate. And I'll show that in the next video.